It's not often that I'm left speechless, but this episode pulled it off. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another video, and today's video is going to be my review of the latest episode of Sword Art Online Alicization War of Underworld Episode 18, Memories. And I gotta be honest with you guys, this episode, it was a feels roller coaster. It's not often that I am left speechless by anything, whether it be in the real world, an anime. It's rare that I'm left speechless at anything, but this episode pulled it off. This episode had my emotional train all over the place. I won't lie, I was crying a little bit towards the end of the episode, and our boy is finally back. So yeah, with all of that being said, everybody, I'll explain what I meant in just a minute, but at risk of further rambling though, let's move on to the actual episode. So the episode begins in this dreamlike state of Kirito. He's still a vegetable at this point, and he's thinking back to everything that's happened to him. He's in this area here. He's back in what is essentially his middle school days before the whole Sword Art Online incident, and we see him walking through the town, remembering that there's something he has to do, and as he's going through the town, he runs into none other than Alice and Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, he doesn't notice them directly, but you can see as he's walking past, you can clearly see Alice walking past him in the crosswalk, and then you can see Yu-Gi-Oh! Sitting in the train where he's at as he's heading back to home. So it's just, that was a nice emotional touch here before we transition on to the opening. And the opening is still Animea by Riona. It's still an awesome soundtrack, but there were some updated visuals in it. Nothing real noticeable, I gotta be honest with you. I had to go back and rewatch it a couple of times to notice the scene changes. Really, the only things that changed were Kirito's eyes. They went from his original black-colored eyes to his gold-colored god eyes that he has in the Underworld here. So yeah, Kirito's eyes are really the only thing that changed in the opening visuals. A little sad about that, not gonna lie, but not going to detract from this episode at all. In my opinion, the episode clearly overpowered that. So now that we got the opening out of the way, we go back to Asuna, who's fighting, well, she's watching by as POH is just annihilating these troops that he brought into the Underworld under Mr. Miller's orders. He's annihilating the Underworld troops, and he's growing more powerful because unlike previous games where his weapon would deteriorate upon being used, now in the Underworld, it's increasing with every single life that's taken. So POH, the Prince of Hell, he's turning all of these people against one another to fight, to kill, to increase his power. All these people that Asuna and her team killed, they're increasing his power. All the people he killed is increasing his power, so on and so forth. Asuna realizes that she's got to do something to stop him, and she ultimately musters up the strength to get up one more time with the help of her love friend, Yuki. That's right, everybody. Yuki makes an appearance in this episode behind Asuna. She's like, I will always be with you. And these two manage to go after POH with the Mother Roseo attack. And it's just epic. That was just epic. It was a nice touch. I loved seeing that here. I loved seeing Yuki again. She's arguably my fourth favorite SAO girl. But, you know, Yuki, her whole arc was just a heartache in itself. So to see Yuki back here again with Asuna, helping her out in a pinch, being able to help Asuna get to her feet, to defend Kirito, to defend everybody, that was a beautiful touch in my opinion. And then we can't forget about our boy. Our boy is back in this dreamlike state. He's reliving his memories, and unfortunately for him, he's having to relive every unfortunate memory he's had from SAO to the current day. It starts off with the moonlit black cats where Kirito watches Sachi and all of his first real friends in Sword Art be annihilated in that trap room again. Kirito is heartbroken at this. He's forced to re-watch Sugo attempt to rape Asuna in ALO. He's forced to watch all of these things that have happened in the Underworld. Kirito can't take it anymore. He's broken. He realizes to himself, or he's thinking to himself, that it should have been me that died. All of these bad things that happened, they're my fault. And Kirito has just pushed himself to the point of mental exhaustion and mental breaking, just basically through this whole PTSD that he's experiencing. And I think it's safe to say that it's PTSD here. And I feel for the guy because I suffer with it myself. And trauma, it gets to you. There is no amount of comfort that you can have sometimes. It just seems like you're at your lowest point, and most of the time you just want to make the hurt go away. And that, unfortunately, is the point Kirito has gotten to. Even as Higa has broadcasted the memory of Kirito to him via the STL and Asuna, Sinan, and Sugu, it's not enough. Kirito still won't wake up, and Higa can't understand it, and he even looks at his screen and is like, well, what's this? There's a fourth person who has a deep connection to Kirito appearing on his screen. And we learn when we go back to Kirito that it is none other than Yu-Gi-Oh! The memory of Yu-Gi-Oh! That Kirito has in his head. And Kirito is just heartbroken to see Yu-Gi-Oh! There. He's begging Yu-Gi-Oh! For forgiveness and even asks Yu-Gi-Oh! Is it okay to stand? And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has basically had to assure Kirito that yes, it's okay to stand. You don't have to blame yourself. There are so many people waiting for you to come back. You gotta do it. And so these two are just having this, they're having this talk about their memories and that their memory will always live in their heart. And it's very interesting to note that during this whole thing, Kirito, he just wants to make the pain go away, and he's actually reached into himself and is threatening to rip out his heart, ultimately killing him because he just wants the pain to stop. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimately walks him back and is like, no, you need to stand. There are people counting on you. And this is enough to ultimately snap Kirito out of his vegetative state. And then we go back to the Underworld. And in the Underworld, we have POH. He's going back on a rampage here. He's not completely defeated by Asuna's Mother Roseo attack with the help of Yuki. And he is just forcing all these troops to fight to the death. He's threatening to kill what's remaining of the human empire forces. He's threatening to kill the Dark Territory forces. He's threatening to kill all these players that they beamed in. He's threatening to destroy every artificial Fluctli here in order to get Kirito to wake up. And it's because he's got this weird kind of deep admiration for Kirito. He wants to kill Kirito, and he wants Kirito to die by his hands, and he's going to do anything he can to get him to wake up just to kill him. And this is when the moment happens. He goes to strike Asuna, and he's stopped by this dome of light, and it turns out to be none other than Kirito's hand, protecting Asuna, protecting everybody, because this entire time Asuna's been trying to reach out to Kirito and has been unable to. Well, now Kirito's up, he's moving, and he's able to use the perfect weapon control art of the broken blue rose sword to freeze everybody long enough to stand back up, regain his composure, and tell Asuna and the others that he's back, as Swordland plays in the background. Again, another nice touch, signaling the final battle between POH and Kirito to come in the next episode. And that was essentially the episode. Like I said, it is not often that anything leaves me speechless, but this episode certainly did. This episode had me crying. It had the feel train all over the place. I'll be honest with you, I could not record this review with a straight face. In fact, I've had to stop and pause recording a couple of times of this review just because of how much it touched me. It's not very often that an episode does that. It's not very often that anything does that. So that fact alone makes this episode a very powerful episode. It's not often that I say an episode is perfect. This episode was, in my opinion. I give it a 10 out of 10. I strongly suggest that everybody watch this episode because it was a great episode, in my opinion. There was absolutely nothing I could say that was bad about this week's episode. This episode failed to not disappoint, and we thought it might just because of the preview, but then again, when we get the previews and there's really nothing in them, you know it's going to be an epic episode, and fortunately, that trend held true this time. This was a perfect episode, in my opinion. But as always, in the comments section down below, let me know what your guys' thoughts were about this week's episode. Did you love it like I did? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just there? What are your thoughts? Are you glad to see Kirito back? Just let me know in the comments section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. Alright everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody. Hey everyone, Templar74 here. Did you enjoy the video? Do you want to help support me in making more content like this and see your name here at the end of every video? Then consider supporting me on Patreon. Any help is greatly appreciated and will help ensure continuation and increase the quality of production of the videos that I'm able to make for all of you. Link down below. Again, thank you so much for your support and for liking and subscribing. You all are amazing. And as always, everyone, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.